All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, quarterback Shedeur Sanders had to wait much longer than he or anyone for that matter expected before he was able to hear his name called at this year's NFL draft. But at the end of the day, Shedeur is a Cleveland Brown. Now, it was a very shocking fall for Sanders. I mean, there were some who felt that Sanders could have been a top 10 pick. Top 10 came and went on Thursday night. He played the waiting game throughout round one on Thursday night. And when round one of the NFL draft is over, Shador was still waiting to hear his name called. We went to Friday, both rounds two and three. Still, no team had taken Shador Sanders. The entire fourth round went by this afternoon, and it was round five, pick 144 overall before Shador Sanders heard his name. Now, one would ask, why did Sanders have to wait so long to hear his name called? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not here to say I'm an NFL insider. Some people are saying that he didn't interview well. I don't know. I feel like a lot of things can be right. At some point, the truth will come out. Okay, as far as why Shador fell as far as he did, and the reason why I say why he fell as far as he did, because I get it. Sometimes guys, have a first round grade, and a lot of people, draft pundits, if you will, had Shador as late first round pick. Typically, when a guy's a late first round pick, maybe they slide into the third round. Okay, but at the end of the day, if there has ever been a position at the NFL draft that teams will overreach for, it is truly indeed the quarterback position. And, at the end of the day, I'm just surprised that he fell to number five. But when it's all, pardon me, round five, but when it's all said and done, it doesn't matter if you're a first round pick, second round pick, fourth round pick, sixth round pick, whatever, even undrafted. If you have an opportunity to go out there and play, and you have an opportunity to show your skill set. Make the most of it. Okay, Shador is going to a situation right now with the Cleveland Browns where he's going to have an opportunity to learn, and he's also going to have an opportunity to compete. This is a rare situation for a fifth round pick, a fifth round quarterback, because typically when you talk about a quarterback that is taken in round five, they're usually a developmental project. Nothing, a lot is not expected of him. Of course, you know that might not be the case with Shedeur Sanders because you think about the last 2 years of Colorado, especially this past season, and you saw, the development of his game. He improved year by year collegiately. First 2 years, of course, at Jackson State. Then the last 2 years at Colorado. We're talking about a guy who's coming into the NFL as the reigning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. He also won the Unitas Award as the top quarterback in the nation. Threw 37 touchdowns last season, 10 interceptions at a completion percentage of 74. But you look at the quarterback room for the Cleveland Browns right now. We're talking about Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, who was basically retired a couple of years ago and had to be called off of his couch to help the Browns in their postseason push. Joe Flacco's a veteran, been there, done that. Excuse me. He knows that his better days or his best days in the NFL are in the rearview mirror. So if you're Shedeur Sanders, you've got somebody to learn from right there. Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback out of Oregon, was taken before Shedeur Sanders in this draft process. So now he's a rookie that Shedeur is going to have an opportunity to come in and compete with for reps. Also, Kenny Pickett, former first round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers, was with the Philadelphia Eagles last year before he got traded to the Cleveland Browns this year. And then you've got Deshaun Watson. And of course, Deshaun Watson has been a shell of himself since the Cleveland Browns made that huge deal several years ago to acquire him from the Houston Texans. So when it's all said and done, Shador's going to have an opportunity to go out there and compete for reps. Okay, that is the bottom line. I look at it with the Cleveland Browns organization. Of course, over the years, whole lot of nothing for the most part been going on with the Browns. So let's see what Shador can do. Some people are saying maybe he'll be humbled by this. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a confident kid, and I think at the pro level, you want kids that are going to come in and be confident. Some people are going to call it cocky. Some people are going to call it arrogant. I don't think so. I just think he is a confident kid, in my opinion. All right. And at the end of the day, you're walking into a room full of alpha males, and you want to go out there and prove your worth. And also, especially at the quarterback position, you got to show that you can be a leader of men. You really haven't heard anything as far as Shadur's teammates, criticizing him, being mad at him, saying he's not a good leader, not a good teammate, none of that stuff. So at the end of the day, he's got an opportunity to go out there and compete. At the end of the day, like I said before, Sanders can sling that football. You're talking about 64 touchdowns in 2 years at Colorado. Like I said, he was the Big 12's Offensive Player of the Year last year, the SWAC's Offensive Player of the Year back in 2022 when he was at Jackson State. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to get a very motivated Shedeur Sanders because typically when guys fall or when guys are overshadowed or when guys see guys at their position getting taken prior to them and they feel that they're better than them, they want to go out there and say, you know what? I want to prove you wrong. I want to show you. And it's not like he's coming into this from unfamiliar territory because guess what? His dad was one of the best. And it's one of those where I'm sure that Deion Sanders has schooled him on being a pro from day one. Throughout this whole process, over the last couple of days, there's been plenty of people mocking Shedeur Sanders on social media. I mean, you saw the foolishness with the whole prank call, um, yesterday. I think, in my opinion, I think that's disgusting. And at the end of the day, this kid just handled it well. Okay. This was a golden opportunity for him. It's a great opportunity for all of these kids that were drafted over the last couple of days as they have an opportunity to achieve their dreams. So I'm looking at it, some of these teams that passed on Shador Sanders, in my opinion, could have used him. I mean, I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the thing is this: if you are Pittsburgh, you cannot go into this season thinking you'll be okay with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, a guy who's been benched by you multiple times in the past, as you wait on Aaron Rodgers. And at the end of the day, we've seen what playing the waiting game with Aaron Rodgers can be. And I'm going to tell you like this: if the Steelers are truly putting all of their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket, I guarantee you, more than likely than not, this is going to be Mike Tomlin's last year with the black and gold because you're talking about Aaron Rodgers being one of the worst leaders at the quarterback position that the NFL has ever seen. And you're going into an offense where you've got DK Metcalf and George Pickens at wide receiver. Insert joke there. The Steelers needed a quarterback. And it wasn't until late in the draft process today that they took former Ohio State quarterback Will Howard. This is a team, okay, they passed on Shedeur Sanders a couple of times in the draft. Maybe you didn't have to take him in round number 1 or 2, but you still had an opportunity to go out there and take him. I look at the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, they took Jalen Milroe last night out of Alabama. No offense to Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is more of a runner with the football than he is a thrower. Now, is that something that the Seahawks can possibly work on? Absolutely. So I question that pick right there. That's just my opinion. Okay. And then for me with the Saints, a lot of people expected maybe New Orleans take him in round number 1 being Shador Sanders. They didn't. Okay. They had another opportunity in the second round. They chose Tyler Shaw, excuse me, out of Louisville. It's one of those where, okay, that's who they feel they can go forward with. We've got to wait and see if this is going to work out for New Orleans there. But nonetheless, I talked about it the other day. Maybe the Rams could have been a possibility at some point for Shador Sanders. Clearly, they weren't going to take him in round number 1. You can see the writing on the wall. The Rams had their sights set on Jackson Dart. And of course, the Giants traded up right in front of Los Angeles to take Dart. And then from there, we saw the Rams trade out of that pick. So when it's all said and done, I thought Sanders, could have been logical for LA. You take him in one of these second, third, or fourth rounds. You don't have to play him right away because you still have Matthew Stafford. And it's a scenario where he could have learned from a veteran quarterback, a Super Bowl champion quarterback in Matthew Stafford, as well as one of the better coaches for all quarterbacks in the NFL right now, in one Sean McVay. But nonetheless, it didn't work out. So again, I think Shedeur is going to go in there ready to work and try to prove people wrong. He's already said he's got some things that he's got to clean up on. And hey, hopefully for his sake, it all works out. We've got to wait and see. Like I said, teams that could have used him, the Indianapolis Colts, for an example. I've said this before. I am not a fan of their quarterback room. They the best way to sum it up is it's like they took a project a couple of years ago and Anthony Richardson at quarterback, and he's still a project. And then you bring in Daniel Jones. And at the end of the day, I think the Colts just drafted their best quarterback option on Thursday night when they selected tight end Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Just my thought. So it's one of those. Maybe they could have used a middle round pick on Shedeur Sanders as well. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the NFL draft, each year, regardless of position, we see guys that are rated too high, some guys that are overdrafted, and other guys slip. Now, I know it's not an exact science, but at the end of the day, and this, what I'm going to say, is bigger than the whole Shedeur Sanders situation. Some of these teams do not know what they're doing. Okay. And this is why we see the same teams consistently competing in late January and early February for the Super Bowl. And we consistently see the same teams picking in the top 10 in the draft. And usually those teams who are consistently picking top 10 in the draft are reaching too much in the draft process, and usually they have a turnover at the general manager position and the head coaching position because, again, some of these teams simply don't know what they're doing. I'm not saying, and I'm not lobbying to sit up here and say that Shedeur Sanders should have been a top 10 pick. What I am saying is some of these teams simply do not know what they're doing, and we see it year in and year out in the National Football League. So, like I said before, this is an opportunity for Shedeur Sanders to go out there and ball out. And I think it's either one or two things are going to happen. Either he's going to do his thing or and prove his doubters wrong, or his critics are going to sit back and say, you know what, I told you so. That's it. Uh, at the end of the day, all he can do is go out there and play his game. Like I said, if you want a quarterback, I think he fits. He checks a lot of the boxes. He has a solid arm. I know a lot of teams nowadays they tend to look for the more mobile quarterback. Shador is more of a pocket passer. He did work with a former NFL head coach this past year as his offensive coordinator at Colorado in Pat Shermer. And I think also you got to give him credit. He did it in a Power Four conference in the Big 12. So he's no slouch coming into this thing. I know that there's going to be a lot of media around him, but so far, in the past couple of days, he said all the right things, so to speak. So it's going to be up to the Browns to coach him up. Um, let's see if this young man is ready for the moment, and let's see what the Cleveland Browns do from here. So, like I said before, it's an opportunity, and it doesn't matter. First round, second round, third round, wherever you get picked, as long as you hear your name called for the NFL draft, you have an opportunity. It's up to you to go out there and ball out and do your thing. So let's see what Shador is going to do in Cleveland. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you liked what you heard and saw, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. I guarantee you it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. You can also check me out on Instagram at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. And the same narrative goes on there. If you follow me, I'll follow you right back. Also, Check us out on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Shameless plug, but as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Hope everybody who checked out the NFL draft and enjoyed it. A lot of excitement as far as I'm concerned. And I got plenty more to talk over the next couple of days about what we saw from the draft for specific teams. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.